What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 378 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse pod on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network. KB and Deej coming at you. I was ignoring Deej doing some ventriloquism there, but joining us this week, and hopefully will happen more throughout the season, the man, the myth, the legend, the new co-host of the Run Out Pod and part of OTB Nation and keeps the lacrosse multiverse intact. He's like the Spider-Man of the lacrosse multiverse. It is Brandon Hooten, a.k.a. Hoots. First episode. Let's go.
About time.
I think this is about a year from when I started working with you guys. I think a year was like last month, so
just about. I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary.
When you absolutely roasted me on a phone call.
Dude, that was your fault.
Bro, listen. I hadn't had a co-host in like forever. I was just trying to make the pod work. I didn't have time to go scroll on your Twitter account like that.
Bro, you didn't even need to scroll. As soon as you went there, it was right there.
It didn't
Easy,
help.
Redwoods.
Didn't help in the vlog that you had a whole Atlas jersey on.
And an Archer one draped around my neck. I'm like, dog, you're the
original Neil.
Oh,
I was gonna say he just supports the league.
Hold on, chill. I always been a Woods fan. They just didn't happen to get me game one when I had my Woods jersey on while Miles was going crazy. That's all. That's all that happened.
He was out here doing quick changes like he was on America's Got Talent.
Oh yeah, bro, I was. I was flipping every game.
2021 was the year of the quick change between you and Quay. That man was going to buy new outfits every quarter.
Bro, he had something else every time I turned around.
He walked into the stadium with one outfit. He left whole new wardrobe.
It was wearing like 5 different teams.
Had a Cannon's crew neck, whipstick shorts, Archer's hat.
Man, like, bro, is you cool?
Hey, once you get in the store, it's hard to say no to stuff.
It's clam.
Yeah.
It is hard. Like, pause.
There's a lot of good stuff in this store.
That's facts. We got a fun one. PLL Albany is in the books. Jared Bernhardt officially back. And we're going to break down and dive into PLL Charlotte, or as the people of Michigan call it, Charlotta.
No,
that y'all call it.
That is Charlotte. And what you are referencing is Charlotte. Those are 2 different places.
Charlotte.
Two very different
putting
places.
A damn ratatouille twang on that shit.
Respect the native people that lived in Michigan. It is a native twang. Doing that on the Lacrosse podcast.
Can we all agree that? Can we all agree that twang is one of the universally funniest words to ever exist? Yes. No matter how you say it, twang will never make me not giggle.
No, it works every single time. How do y'all feel about moist?
It don't matter to me. It's fine.
It actually makes my skin crawl unless you're talking about like cake or like a towel or something. Like something that should be moist. If you say anything else is moist, it literally like, ugh. I don't know why.
I'll keep that one in the chamber.
Yeah.
Chill. I'm going to just show up with some cooked eggs.
Now that's heinous.
Bro hates the smell of eggs.
Oh. You want to talk about making my skin crawl?
Like any eggs?
My dad has like this like hard-boiled egg like machine like that like just like cooks them. But the sulfuric scent that thing creates makes like, I'm like, you need to do this outside. It's so disgusting. And I just don't like eggs in general. Like, I don't eat eggs. And that smell is just like, I would rather like listen to nails on a chalkboard because it is just foul. No pun intended.
I feel like that hurt the person scratching the chalkboard more.
Yeah, I
than
never
the
understood why
podcast.
like that was a thing. I'm like, your nails
ow?
don't break? Like,
That shit hurt.
crazy. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. You can follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat, so you can see how many times he's like, hey, yo, what the every single week.
Only had to do it 3 times last week. Good counter.
One of them countered you heavy.
Yeah, it did, actually.
He came back and said, oh, I got the receipts, and I was in goal the whole time. You can follow Hoots at Hoots Sports Media, and you can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star review. It helps this show continue to grow, helps more people find not only OTB, but every show on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. So keep on subscribing, leave those 5-star reviews, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It's all on our YouTube channel. We're at 1,071 subscribers, which means we're 29 away from our next 100 subscriber milestone. And if you want us to have an OTB college show going into next season, subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel. If we get to 100 subscribers, that will happen next year with Deej and Hoots. We're at 55 subscribers on that channel now, so we're 45 away, which is a very funny number if you were on Twitter today as we record this on Thursday night. So keep subscribing to both YouTube channels. And this show is presented by our good friends at Shootout For Soldiers. Guys, there's no better way to just take in a fun experience in the lacrosse community and help support your community, help support our nation's veterans than with Shootout For Soldiers. They've had a couple of events happen in the month of May already. They're gearing up for a busy month of July, from Long Island on July 9th and 10th, Massachusetts July 12th, Ohio July 19th, Canandaigua July 26th and 27th, plus a whole lot more from Virginia. They're coming to Colorado again in August, Baltimore in September, and Kansas City in October. Our nation's veterans need all the help they can get, especially in the times we're living in now. So find out how to either get involved with an event, how to register, request more info, become a sponsor, volunteer, and so much more at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. Register for an event upcoming in the month of July from Long Island, Massachusetts, Ohio, and Canandaigua at the end of July as well. But all the information available at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. And we thank Shootout For Soldiers for being a proud presenting partner of the podcast. Boys, PLL Albany in the books. Quite the weekend. Ton of highlights. A lot of low scoring in 2 games. Some decent scoring in the other 2. We're going to recap all the games relatively quick. We have a very fun video series coming out each and every week that will also help recap the week that was. So keep your eyes and ears like fully locked in on our social channels, because we're very excited about this series that is coming, that will typically be out on Thursdays, but we're just first one. We wanted to make it right, so it'll be out Friday before the games. So definitely stay tuned for that. But as you guys know, our recaps each and every week, no matter what professional lacrosse league it is, they're brought to you by our friends over at Buff, the weekly wrap-up. Guys, Survivor. Deej and I love Survivor. It's truly one of our favorite shows. Deej got hooked instantly. A bunch of PLL employees are big Survivor fans. Plus, if you know the origin of Colin Squire's number 39, it's because there's 39 days in the original Survivor. Buff is the official just everything product of Survivor. People wear them as headbands. The ladies use them as just full-blown tube tops. You see them as wristbands. They're there to protect you from the elements, whether it's the sun, the cold, the wind. Buff is there to make sure that you are protected. Use our link in the description. Shop with our friends at Buff. Gear up for the summer. Make sure if you're outside, you're protecting your head, protecting your face. Plus, we talked a couple weeks ago about the buffs that are going to have that built-in insect repellent. That is key as soon as the summer kicks in that much more. So use our link in the description and shop with our friends at Buff to make sure that you are fully protected going into these summer months. And we thank Buff for being a proud partner of the podcast. We'll start with the first game on Friday. Since we were not in Albany, we didn't see this all go down. But Deej, as disappointed as I was that we weren't there, seeing all that rain and knowing how Albany can be, I was a little relieved that we weren't out in the rain. But nonetheless, still pretty disappointed we couldn't be there, but didn't get caught in the rain like some did. But the first game, New York Atlas 10, Chaos 8. I mean, I think overall, yes, it's a positive that the Atlas won, but I think this game was far more of a positive for the Carolina Chaos, even in a loss where you got your first look at what this offense can kind of look like, which has been the biggest question all offseason. Iker is a stud. Silstrop looks perfect for Roy Colsey's system, and Cross Ferrara picked right back up where he left off with the Denver Outlaws. It sucks that Aslanian is on the injured reserve list now, but I think this offense, while I think they'll still have like their bumps in the road, I think they're a lot better than I think a lot of people were going to give them credit for going into the year.
I think there was just a lot of open questions because like it basically was a lot of very unproven people, whether they were young or literally rookies that haven't played yet. It's just nobody really knew what to expect of them. And we've also seen other young teams struggle in their first couple of years. So I think that's just kind of what everybody was expecting. I do think their offense showed up more than what we were giving them credit for and what a lot of other people were giving them credit for. In the same token, I don't think – I think people need to be worried when Pressler warms up. I think that's the thing. I think he was a little slow at adjustments and certain things as far as his coaching aspect because they started hot. It was what, 5-6 rip before
4-0 was like the run they went on before Chaos scored their first goal.
And like it wasn't like close. It didn't look like it was going to stop anytime soon.
And then after that, Carolina went on a 4-goal run of their own.
Yep, but there was adjustments that were made on the Carolina side, and there was nothing done on the Atlas side. You saw the same thing happen in the Cannons game. They were kind of going back and forth, then all of a sudden the Cannons kind of just pulled away because Holman was making adjustments and Pressler didn't quite make the same adjustments. Once Pressler gets back into that mode and he's making adjustments, Atlas is going to be a serious team to worry about. They have all of the pieces to be successful from top to bottom. He just wasn't quite on his mark as far as making adjustments.
I also think like a lot of people forget that New York has a brand new defensive coordinator. Like Kevin Unterstein left in the offseason, kind of under the radar, but obviously if you paid attention, you knew that they had a new coach coming in who has a good rapport with Pressler, but it's your first time coaching the PLL. So there's a lot of adjustments that you have to make on the fly. So on top of that, you're going toe-to-toe with a whole coaching staff that's never coached in the PLL. So making those adjustments, you don't know what you're going to see from them because there's no film really from that system versus there's no film on how you're going to coach this defense. While you know the talent on that Atlas defense, it was very evident that there was some growing pains from those guys on that Atlas defense in this game. But I think if you're Carolina and you're a Carolina fan, you have to walk away from this game feeling pretty optimistic about like what can happen the duration of this season, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be, this slog of a year because we can't score. Sure, you scored 8 goals, but you're going up against one of the best young defenses in the PLL and one of the up-and-coming elite tier goalies as well. And you were still able to hold that offense to 10 defensively. And you were going blow for blow with them and made it super interesting late. Trainer scores that goal to give them, was that to take the lead 9-8, I believe. And then they scored 1 at the end with Brian Costable with like 33 seconds left. But fourth quarter, this game was, I think, I don't think you could have asked any level of PLL fan going into that game if you would have had expectations for it. Nobody would have said that they would have thought this game was going to be tied in the fourth quarter as late as it was.
Especially not after the way it started with 4 in a row. Like there was definitively a point where we were joking in the group chat about how many goals Chaos would score. There was a legitimate point that I thought they could get shut out because they didn't get a stop. They didn't win a face-off. And then out of nowhere, they score 4 in a row and tie it. So, I mean, like you said, I think it's a positive overall for them if we're doing moral victories. And that's also without Adam Chardon-Beatties. So,
right.
Who knows what he adds this week as well.
And I mean, you look at the young core that Chaos has, which is a lot of their offense, from Jackson Eicher to Silstrop now. Zawada looked good in his debut and in the second game. Or not the second game, but he looked good in his debut. And I think he's going to look good just as time continues to progress and he's playing a more natural position for himself. Cross looked great. He looked fast out there. Garrett Degnan still has a ripper of a shot. Ross Scott, Eric Dobson. This team still has a very young core of offensive players that are going to learn to play together, which granted, they're not at the talent level that a lot of the Outlaws guys were last year, but I feel like it's very similar now for Chaos where you have this group of players now that have a chance to grow together. And I think that's important where you're not only growing these players together, they're growing alongside this coaching staff together, which is huge. And I mean, we knew it going in. The Chaos defense was going to be great. Troy Ray had a phenomenal game. Blaze was awesome. He made some adjustments as the game progressed, but he found his stride. And I mean, anytime you can hold the New York Atlas offense to 10 goals, normally you're going to win that game. So at the end of the day, if I'm a Chaos fan, it sucks that we lost, but I'm also taking away a lot of positives going into a doubleheader weekend that they have this upcoming weekend. So fun one there. And I mean, Jackson Eicher was electric. To have a hat trick in your debut, the way that he played, I loved Roy Colsey's attitude after the game too. He said, I don't think Jackson Eicher's had one article written about him. I was like, ooh, nice little mic drop from Roy Colsey after the game. Okay, coach, I see you. But I think Jackson Eicher is going to be a problem for a lot of defenses, not only because, he looked the part out there, but there's not that much professional. This is one professional game of film that these teams have on him. And I think he's just a unique look for them. And I think he pairs so well with JJ, so well with Zawada, that he's going to be a fun player to watch if you're a Chaos fan for at least the next 2 years, because Ryan Boyle dropped that he's going to be available not only this year, but next year too. So that's fun for Carolina for sure. I'll sit back and listen to YouTube right down the next game. Redwoods 15, Outlaws 12. Deej, the floor is yours.
No. Guess first. I'm a good host. Guess first.
I have nothing to say. No. I don't know. It's hard because, week one, I try not to put too much, value in it per se. I'll say this. It was concerning on Denver's side to have as little midfield production as they did throughout the game, along with the defense seemingly not playing defense for quite a while. The fact that they went into halftime down 1 was already kind of frustrating. When I'm sitting there with other Outlaws fans, we're talking how are we down? against a team that, similar to Chaos, had so many questions coming into the season. Not that any of the players they added are bad players. Like, Chris Kavanaugh was incredible in this game. Like, hands down. Dylan Malloy, I thought, at least overreaction of week one, stamped his mark in this offense for at least the time being. And Andrew McAdory was great as well. But, like, then to come out in the third quarter and give up 6 goals, like, it just got to a point where it was like, this was supposed to be such a better team with, Pat Cav and Wiz being back and all of that. And to only have 1 goal from your midfield, and then seemingly every single thing that California shot went in as well. Again, it's week 1, and I do think adding Jared Bernhardt will help this week. But if that continues again, like those types of patterns, I think I'm going to have some questions about this team.
Can I add something that I didn't even realize in the moment last weekend after the game that is kind of astonishing? I don't even know if you recognized or picked up on this either, Deej. I'm looking at the overall stats right now. Ryder Garnsey did not attempt 1 shot in this game.
No, he didn't.
That has to be a first in his career. I don't remember a game that Ryder Garnsey has been active in the PLL where he did not attempt 1 shot.
Because you don't remember a game of him being in an offense where he didn't need to.
Fair.
He's finally in an offense where he can go back to kind of his college days. In college, homie scored when he needed to. The Redwoods were asking him to score damn near every possession. Now he's like, dog, I got people I can feed. Let them do all the dirty work.
And he didn't even feed that much. He only had 2 assists.
Yeah. Very calm game.
The feed he had to Cav, though, was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Insane. And eventually we're going to get our Ryder game. We're going to get a 4 or 5 goal game from Ryder on something crazy. And it'll come at the perfect time when it's needed most. And that's the joy of having extra pieces on offense to help.
Can we just talk about the ultimate quote from Anthony Kelly after the game when I asked him about Dylan Malloy? And he just said, he's a guy that's just thriving off getting some love. I was like, that's the most targeted quote at DJ I've ever heard in my life.
Hey, bro, vibes and smiles, bro.
Shout out to AK, though, because not
Vibes
only did he collaborate with our post from that quote, he then followed us on Instagram, so he knows we exist. He knows we exist. But to Hoots' point, like, Dylan Malloy looked phenomenal in this offense. This is the best I think Dylan Malloy has looked since Champ Series when he was with Chrome. And that's not to say that, like, he hasn't had moments, but, like, he was just in an offense where there were so many mouths to feed that, like, Dylan Malloy would go out there, and some weeks it was just like he was just getting paid to, do a cardio session.
Be a traffic cone.
And for him to go out there, shot almost 38%, took 8 shots, hat trick, 4 total points, only 2 turnovers, 27 touches for Dylan Malloy too. That's a pretty damn productive day at the office for a guy who's brand new to the offense, brand new to the team. I was very impressed with Dylan Malloy. And I mean, McAdory looked like a natural. A guy that Deej wasn't sure how he felt about McAdory going into the draft and how he was going to fit, but boy, oh boy, does he look perfect in this Bocklet offense.
And the hit he took on one of his goals to still finish it, like,
he's a menace.
He ate that like it was nothing. It was wild.
Yeah, I say, first off, rookie class showed up. In game 1
across the board,
they were
like,
all
not
there.
Even from the woods, like just every rookie that made a debut this past weekend.
I'm talking about the woods.
But I'm just saying in general, this class looked the part this weekend.
We can do that when we're talking about other teams.
This guy.
Talking about the woods right now.
This guy,
Josh Barcosell, fantastic. Aiden Denenza was able to get him 1. We saw what we got from Chris Cav and Andrew McAdory. And then you still had Carter Rice on the opposite side playing great as a short stick D-mid. So we're really pleased with the rookies that came in. Obviously, we talked about some of those free agency signings and how they'll look and how they do and how they did look in week one. But I would like to apologize to Chase Erlin. I was definitely on the wrong side of things. Definitely had a notion from a few games I had seen that was proven wrong. Phenomenal game by 22 in between the pipes. And I'm pleased to say that I hope that he continues to play that well. And I will happily be wrong in my analysis of him pre-week one. But that was kind of the one shaky thing I had. I don't think the defense is really that bad. I think they're having kind of some of those early chemistry, got to get back used to playing with these guys again things, but they're going to settle in and be fine as long as Chase is solid between the pipes. TD was TD at the stripe, even scored one. Offense is flowing like we haven't seen since 2019. I'd argue it's even better than that 2019 offense. I have no complaints moving forward. As of right now, I'm sure I'll have something to complain about soon.
And I mean, the Redwoods had 3 guys shoot at least 66.7%. Charlie Bertrand shot 66.7%. Chris Cav shot 80%. And McAdory shot 100%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
that's good lacrosse.
I'll add this as well. I don't know how much longer McElroy stays between the pipes. If the defense also doesn't help him out, obviously, do they change that up just to give a spark? But also there were saves that he absolutely should have made for him being the starter all of last year that he did not make. And with Logan McNaney sitting on the sidelines, like ready to go, I do wonder if things go south early week 2, like, does he get pulled right away?
Don't bank on it. Phillies, them Water Dogs took a minute to pull Dylan Ward out. Not saying that Owen McElroy and Dylan Ward are the same, but goalie is one of those positions where coaches tend to have a little bit longer of a leash than some other places.
I was also like doing one of these. If you're watching on YouTube, I was like, watching Jesse Bernhardt and Mike Manley this past week because that was rough. Like at some points in that game, it was JT Giles Harris against the world. And like he can't be the only one out there. So like that to me is more like what I'm paying attention to when it comes to pseudo and changes and stuff is like, do they potentially, switch it up some weeks and get some of these young guys in there to get some burn, because week 1 was not pretty, more so for Jesse. And I'll give Jesse wasn't at camp obviously because he was coaching, and past couple years he's had slow starts, but the defense I think was definitely part of the equation that like threw Owen off. And like you said, like Owen should have had a bunch of those saves that were there for him, but also like the defense did him no favors.
They finna let them boys ride. Just the last one.
Hey man,
I can see that too.
You know what I'm saying? Like we thought Mike was done last year after the conversation we had with him after they lost in the playoffs. He was on the brink of tears. He was saying some very controversial things. Would not be surprised to see those two say, you know what? Yeah, this is the last one.
That them Jersey Analytics is doing what Jersey Analytics do, because that 37 was like not looking good out there, my boy.
What did I say? Didn't I say that it was foul?
I couldn't believe I missed that on the like roster page. When you brought that up to me, I was like, whoa, what are we doing?
I was like, is this real? No, right?
My eyes.
Like, no.
That was crazy.
It very much is.
But yeah, I mean, and when it comes to the Outlaws, like you can't have your midfield score 3 total points. Zach Geddes contributed the same amount of points on his own.
Well,
okay. Entire offensive midfield
was Wiz playing attack or midi?
Attack.
I couldn't tell because he was. That dude was dodging from all over the place and was lined up against a shorty a lot, so I couldn't tell. And I think there was a couple times where he wasn't like where he subbed off after scoring.
Because Logan was at attack, Brennan was at attack, and Pat, they were in the Tewaaraton boys, and then Dalton Young was coming out of the box. Graham Bundy just looked like his jersey number, like he was just lost out there, which was shocking because last year, like Graham came in looking like a seasoned vet, and he just kind of looked overmatched. And I'll give Jack Van Overbeck a little bit of benefit of the doubt. New team, new system, like kind of getting his feet under him with some new teammates. But, and I mean, Sam Hanley, like, was a nothing burger. And that was brutal, especially after Pseudo kind of gave like the vote of confidence at media day, saying like he expects him to have like a breakout year this year. That was tough. Justin Anderson looked really bad. But again, I think, we'll talk about Jared Bernhardt, and I think that'll help some stuff. But very rough outing from the Outlaws midfield for sure. The championship game rematch was wet. It was wild. And as it always is, the Utah Archers come out on top 8-7. Connor Fields is inevitable. He was sensational in this game. Led the team in points, was up for player of the week this week with 5 total points, 4 goals, 1 assist. Sam King looked great, especially in relief of Grant Ament when he went out with the hamstring injury. Hopefully Grant's okay. He is out this week. I think it's more precautionary. Chris Bates told us after the game that if last week was like a championship level stage, Grant would be able to play. But because it's such a long season, Grant has this history of hamstring issues. They are playing it safe. So we'll see when Grant comes back in the lineup. Matt Moore played, even though he was questionable, looked pretty good. Tom Schreiber did Tom Schreiber things. Dyson Williams, human highlight reel, just a nasty behind the back. Bo Pedersen was awesome. Outside of him getting bodied by TJ Malone on that one goal, which was filthy. But I mean, I think the story for this game was the Archers defense was just incredible. Chris Bates knows how to pick them. Lavelle looked like unbelievable, held Rambo scoreless. And I think the only concern you have, and sure, you're going up against Joe Nardella, but Sis looked pretty bad. But overall, the rest of the team picked it up. Defense was...
Pause. Sis didn't look bad. Man's got like 0 wing help.
Yeah.
Which is like a big deal, especially in the PLL. Like, you're not winning a lot of faceoffs clean to yourself to pick up. Like, if you're winning them, there's going to be some kind of GB battle. Wings are getting in quick, and you got a good faceoff guy across from you. It's basically 3-on-3. So if you got 2 pedestrians standing out there with you, you're basically 1-on-3, and that's what Sis was a lot. I actually kind of felt bad watching. It's like Archers should be doing better. If Sis was getting help on the ground balls, they would have been insane. And that was like the one thing that like put Archers over the hump the last couple of years, just their rope unit has been better than everyone else's. The middle of the field has been dominated by the Archers when they play, and it just wasn't there week 1.
And
you
not even the, I was like, not even like that he was like bad. Like Nardella just looked phenomenal too. Like there was moments, like there were faceoffs Joe was taking that I was like, oh, that's like vintage Joe Nardella right there. Like like Joe looks so healthy, and I love that for him. Like he just looks strong in those faceoff battles, and that was an awesome sign to see from Joe. But I think the story of this game was the Archers defense was awesome. Brett Dobson, 13 of his 26 career starts, this is a Joe Keegan stat. 13 of his 26 starts, he's recorded at least 15 saves. Nasty. And I love that both Connor Fields and Dauber pointed out that they both think the new ball color is helpful. So that's definitely something to pay attention to for the goalies and how they're kind of seeing the ball. But and I mean, good on the Whipsnakes defense. They held Mac O'Keefe scoreless, 0 for 2. And I know that's always been a big thing for Stags is shutting down Mac O'Keefe. But to hold him scoreless is a pretty damn good feat for sure. I also love Stags calling Connor Fields Gumby. I thought that was hilarious after the game. And I mean, on the Whipsnake side of things, like TJ Malone looked like TJ Malone, had a hat trick in this one, shot almost 43%. Matt Brandow decided he remembered how to play lacrosse. So good for Matt Brandow. Aiden Carroll looked good. He looks strong out there. But again, on top of that, and Deej, I think you can attest to this, you're not going to win many games when Rob Pinnell's shooting 11%.
So glad he's not here anymore. No offense to Rob, but
Like
the way
shooting,
that
right?
offense cooked, 15 of them. You know the last time the Woods scored 15 goals in a game?
Yeah, I tweeted it. It was
It's
last year
in
in a loss.
Thank you. And
It was
before
a 20
that,
to 15 loss to the Atlas.
and before that, a long time.
But I genuinely like looked that up because I was like, they're scoring a lot here. Let me look this up. And the most goals or points, however you want to classify it, that the Redwoods scored last year in a game was 15, and it was a 20 to 15 loss in Philly to New York.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean the Whipsnakes offense outside of TJ and the moments from like Brandow and Aiden Carroll, they looked very pedestrian. Like they looked out of sync. There was a lot of moments that they just did not look like on the same page. Their defense played really well. Joe was sensational. Jared Bernhardt lucked his way into 2 face-off wins too, which was hilarious. And like on top of that, like Krebs didn't look bad. Like they're like very similar to Owen. Like there were some saves that he should have had, but like I feel like Brendan Krebs has gotten like this like bad rap that like he's not a good goalie. Like that dude earned the starting spot last year when Kyle Bernlohr was out. Played really like he carried that team to the final, carried that team through the semifinal against the Atlas too in that crazy overtime. Like, is Brendan Krebs an S-tier goalie in the PLL? No, I'm not saying that, but Brendan Krebs is more than capable of being a week in and week out starter. And I just don't think he gets enough credit for like how good he actually is. And I mean, similar thing, sure, the rain played a factor in this game. The Whipsnakes defense held the defending champions offense to 8 scores. Like that's damn good. They just one more went by them than went by Brett Dobson and the Archers. These two teams, I'm sure, will bump into each other again at some point potentially, but very fun game. It was messy, but very entertaining nonetheless. And a good win for the Archers to get their season started, and another title defense. And then the final game, the Hate Bowl, Boston Cannons 16, New York Atlas 12. I mean, I'm gonna say shout out to my dog Ryan Drenner. That dude, you want to talk about underappreciated? Like y'all know we talk about how underappreciated Kieran McCardle is. Ryan Drenner is so underappreciated for how damn good he is. That was such a like amazing Ryan Drenner game to watch. I was just in my glory watching my boy cook out there. I was like, let Chef Boyardee cook, because that's exactly what he did. Will Manny in his return was awesome. Just some incredible moments. He said after the game, on his first goal, he blacked out, and then when he realized that Marcus was the one that assisted him on the goal, it made it like all the more special. I mean, the Cannons picked up where the Cannons left off, and Brian Holman talked about Deej. Last year in the playoffs, they were held to, 4 goals against Chaos. He said, I'm never going to let that happen again. And, he talked about, when he was making the coaching hires and stuff, that he was not thrilled with their transition game last year. So they made some adjustments there. I thought their transition game looked very good in this game. And, Atlas kind of just looked gassed as the game progressed. You could tell that they were playing their second game, and it was just a little too late for Jeff Teat when he started cooking and finding his stride to kind of pull Atlas back to where they needed to be. But overall, very entertaining game. It was back and forth. The wet net shots were glorious, every single one of them. But I mean, the Cannons offense looked very, very legit in a lot of aspects, and they're going to be a scary team all year.
I mean, I liked seeing the Cannons win. It's always been fun for me watching the Cannons win. It was one of those situations where I thought Atlas would kind of have a similar homecoming weekend as to what they had last year. But I can agree. They looked tired. And Cannons just took the opportunity of it being their first game of the weekend and running away with it. They really hate Atlas. They love playing them because they hate them so much. They want to beat them. They need that game. They need those bragging rights, and you could see it in the way they were playing. Cannons are going to be a scary team this year. They're still obviously not 100% healthy. They're still waiting on guys in terms of Canadian visas, and they went out and had a phenomenal game to start the year. Will Manny popping out, in his first game back in forever. And, you got a couple of contributions from Marcus Holman, but I think a lot of people are forgetting the scariest part about this is Asher Nolting did arguably nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And not that he literally did nothing.
In the shooting sense, he had
I
three.
think he had three. Yeah, I say he had 3 or 4 points total. So he was there and contributed, but when you think about the impact he could truly have in a game, it wasn't there. That should scare a lot of teams, because if he starts having impact and nobody else slows down, they might be averaging 20 goals a game with the way that they could put up points quickly and then it would turn up to Zach Tucci stepping up and getting them the ball back more consistently. But this team has a lot of good pieces, and obviously Brian Holman knows the right ways to coach this group, which is something he always emphasizes on, is how different each group is and how you have to tailor your approach every single season. Seems like that approach is at least locked in so far. We'll see, how the season progresses and how adjustments will go, but they're off to a great start.
Plus, I mean, Graydon Hogg gave you 3 points. That was like just an under-the-radar April signing that Brian Holman said was a tip of the cap from Brody Merrill, and said, yeah, you should check this guy out. And plays week 1 as a rookie, and boom, 3 points for you, 2 goals in his debut. I just have a question from this game, because it happened during the game, and we were all like, what the hell? Number one, how does it happen that nobody checked Zach Tucci for his equipment? Number two, who is the one that checked him after he scores that 2-pointer to be like, yeah, he doesn't have proper protection on? Zach Tucci scores a 2-pointer, and then it comes to find out that he doesn't have his chest pads on that he's supposed to have, because he's not a PLL veteran and he wasn't grandfathered into the rules. How is that not checked pregame? Or how is that not how did he get away with that? That's like some Scooby-Doo shit. Like, he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for Maddie Palem and their dumb dog. Like, how is Zach Tucci finding a way to?
All right, look, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. The refs asked the coaches, "Oh, all your players legally equipped?" Coach gonna say yes, even if not, because just put your stuff on. We not really checking that, bro. Put your stuff on. So then it's kind of up to you as a coach to actually check and make sure all your guys are good. And secondly, it's up to the other coach to point out, oh, wait, hold on. Homie ain't got that. Hey, yo, ref, need an equipment check. Boom. And then you get you a little penalty. That's just how the game works.
I like that we were all on the same page, though.
If you can get away with it, you can get away with it. Do your thing. And for quite a while, Zach Tucci got away with it.
I like that we were all on the same page when we saw that happened, though. Because the fact that goal got to count, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's the part I didn't like about it.
The fact that they call that a dead ball foul is crazy, because they found out that he didn't have it on after the goal was scored. That was the semantics that Seth Tierney explained, which sure, I get that vantage point, but also homie was out there illegally equipped. or
Everything. Actually, let's just take all their points off the board because everything he's done since the beginning of the game is illegal.
literally.
and with him being the face-off guy, a good portion of their offense has come from him getting them the ball. So
took 25 face-offs. Like,
Can you imagine if you just see a big 0 just light up the scoreboard for no reason?
and
Oh
I'm
my
not
God.
hating on Zach Tucci. Like, real G's move with silence like lasagna, as Lil Wayne once put it. But
come on.
at the end of the day, too, like, you got to realize as a player and a teammate, like, if they find that out, like, you could cost your team. That's just being a bad teammate. Not hashtag not big team guy. But I my gas were flabbered.
Hey, I'm not gonna cap with you. I feel like he legitimately forgot.
It wouldn't shock me either.
Like, I don't even feel like he did that on purpose. Like, I feel like he legitimately just like figured he had it on and just put his jersey on and walked out the room, dog. Like
he felt heavy because his jersey was wet.
literally, like he didn't even like think like, oh yeah, I don't got it on. Like let's go. Then grabbed his helmet, grabbed his gloves, grabbed stick, walks out the door. Like
So funny.
Hey, you know this way. He's gonna write a little checklist down though in his locker.
He's gonna walk out the tunnel like this.
And then the funny part is he probably felt at some point that he didn't have it on. And then went, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna play.
He's gonna walk out. He's gonna have like an Iron Man arc reactor showing his chest pad like, through his jersey this week, just being like, "Hey, yo, Maddie, I'm good to go."
You see it? You see it?
He's gonna have a whole Iron Man fucking face mask this week. Just goes over his face.
Hey, Matt, you see it under there?
They're gonna mic up Zach Tucci, and it's gonna be Paul Bettany's voice because you don't have Jarvis talking to everybody. Oh man, but a fun week nonetheless. And looking at the standings right now, Eastern Conference, Cannons at the top, 1-0 with a 4-score differential. Atlas 1-1 with a -2 score differential. Water Dogs, who are idle, are in third. Nothing on the board yet. Whipsnakes 0-1 with a -1 score differential. And then in the West, California at the top with a +3 score differential. Utah with a +1 score differential, also 1-0. Chaos 0-1 with a -2. And Denver in last with a -3. All in all, too, obviously the Water Dogs didn't play. And this is no bias. This is like no bias coming from me whatsoever. But if you're the Water Dogs and you're just sitting back watching last weekend, outside of the Atlas winning one game, for a team that was idle, pretty damn good week for you to have off. Because damn near everything went perfectly for you. Whipsnakes lose. Atlas end up with a negative score differential. Cannons win, but their score differential is very low. Like, you got to feel good. Like, damn, we didn't even have to play this week. And for the most part, we had ourselves a very successful weekend.
Hey, I mean, yeah, you can feel that way, but that's exactly how we felt last year. And, well,
well, did you?
You see how that went real quick after we had that little bye week.
Oh,
So, I mean, not that I'm wishing that on y'all, not that I think it will be that way, but just saying, you might be in good shoes now and not in a couple of weeks.
Very funny stuff.
It's a
very funny stuff.
That's all. Just a possibility.
Before we keep it going, because we got a big old scoop on this show from news that came across this week, I want to talk to you guys about our new friends over at Rita's Italian Ice and Custard in Sewell, New Jersey. Come on out if you're in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area this Sunday, June 8th. Myself, intern Jacob, CFO Margie going to be out there. We're doing a live recording of Underground Sports Philadelphia from Rita's in Sewell, 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey. It's going to be a blast. Like, we're kicking off the summer with one of my favorite partners we've ever had. And I love all our partners, but I've grown up going to Rita's my entire life. And the fact that Rita's is getting on board with us is super exciting. They are the treat of the summer. Cool down with Rita's, enjoy a sweet treat. Genuinely, I'm so stoked to be doing a live show from Rita's, having Rita's sponsor our content, and the cool people, they go to Rita's. So 288 Egg Harbor Road, Sewell, New Jersey. Come on out for a live recording of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Show will start around 6 p.m. and come get some Rita's on Sunday night. scare away those Sunday scaries with a nice little sweet treat at Rita's. And shout out to Rita's for sponsoring OTB. We had the scoop, though. Shout out to Dan Aresia. Support independent journalism.
Gang.
Jared Bernhardt is back in the PLL for the first time since the 2021 PLL draft, when he was drafted by the Carolina Chaos. He is now officially a member of the Denver Outlaws, the Tewaaraton Outlaws, if you will, because they now have 4 of the last 5 Tewaaraton Award winners. And one, I'm just excited to see Jared Bernhardt play professional lacrosse. I'm also just in the camp that there's a lot of people out there that have these high expectations for Jared coming into week 1. And I'm like, I'll be happy to be wrong if Jared goes out and, pops off in his debut. I'll be doing backflips for him. But I also think we need to temper expectations, because the dude has not played a lacrosse game since May of 2021 in this competitive of a nature. And it was the college game versus a faster speed in the PLL. I think Jared's going to be successful. I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get his legs under him. And let's also not forget, Jared has had lower body issues, injury-wise, in his football career. I'm excited. I'm just, keeping the expectations kind of tempered until I actually see him out there. But, I mean, perfect situation for him to go to kind of get up to speed with the talent on that Outlaws team. But, Hoots, I know you're over the moon stoked for JB 10 to be joining the Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, but like you said, I do think obviously the day it happened, there's a lot of hype, rightfully so, but I just don't want to get to a situation where the game tomorrow comes and then he has a point, 0 points, he doesn't put anything on the stat sheet, and then all of a sudden we're talking about how he's already a failed experiment or whatever. Because I can already see it now. All the burners on Twitter are going to go insane about it. And I mean, like I told you guys, the Tewaaraton tagline, the marketing is fantastic. That means absolutely nothing at this point. Other than marketing, it's just something cool to say. So I'm with you, but I do have high hopes. And the fact that he signed a 2-year deal is more exciting to me, as opposed to him signing a 1-year deal and maybe trying to go play football again, which I'm sure, you can still do, obviously, but I like the fact that he'll be here at least 2 years, under contract, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll always have tempered expectations for the most part.
You are the pessimist of the podcast.
Yeah, that's my role. I mean, I grew up a Detroit sports fan for the most part, so excuse me for being a pessimist. It was kind of ingrained in me from a very young age. But also, this is bothering me. There we go. Also, I do want to point out that homie didn't play football for 4 years, and then just picked up a football and became, the starting quarterback on the reigning national champions, and then, made them 2-time national champions.
But shout out to Fair State. They retweeted our post about him signing with the Outlaws. I was like, let's go.
So it's just homie actually, and in his first game back, homie had almost 500 all-purpose yards, and 5 touchdowns. He instant, right back to being the GOAT of football. Homie can do it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and have a 2-goal, 3-assist game, something like that crazy, and just have a welcome back kind of game and just step onto the scene. 1,000% could do it. But realistically, homie shouldn't have a good game, because dudes have been playing in the league 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years now, and have been consistently playing at this pace and level. It should be some type of adjustment to that.
And on top of that, he gets no easy task in his first game. He's going up against the Carolina Chaos defense and Blaze Reardon. It's not like you get this cakewalk of a matchup where you get to go in and have a winnable matchup, a beatable goalie. You're going up against a world-class goalie, a top-tier defense that has been a top-tier defense for years now, it's I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains early in this game for Jared Bernhardt, and I think more so they're going to use him, for lack of a better term, like as a decoy, where people are going to be so hyper fixated about Jared Bernhardt being out there. But I think it's going to help guys like Graham Bundy Jr. It's going to help guys in that midfield kind of like get open and find their shots. And as a product of that, we could see Jared, I think, more so rack up assists than actual goals. And I think like people are putting the hypothetical line. I don't know what the actual line is out there at like 2.5 points. I'm kind of taking the under on that. Like I'll be happy for Jared if he has 1 goal, 1 assist. Like for him, that's a win. Coming back, playing in the pro game for the first time in his career, and you can record 2 points. That's a win. But it is going to be fascinating to kind of see how he kind of fits into the whole scheme here for the Outlaws and what he's able to do from just like that raw talent standpoint. Like you said, Deej, like he's a freak athlete. Like at the end of the day, picked up a football again for the first time and popped off, goes to the NFL and is able to hang, obviously it was preseason, but scores a game-winning touchdown, able to hang against guys who had been playing in the NFL for years that were trying to make rosters and stuff. So like the athletic talent is there. It's just a matter of, I think the biggest thing adjustment wise for him from a lacrosse standpoint is just the speed of the game and I know it's a little bit of a different circumstance when Chris Hogan was given the PLL a shot, but he's talked about time and time again, the number one thing that stood out to him was just the speed of the game, the speed of the athletes, how like athletic everyone was. I also think it helps that I believe Jared Bernhardt, a significant amount of years younger than Chris Hogan was at the time when Chris Hogan was coming into the PLL. So that also helps just from like athletic prime standpoint. But I am intrigued. I'm very excited for Jared. We get another Bernhardt in the league and he gets to play with his brother, which I think is very cool. We've had obviously siblings play together in the PLL before, but a very cool situation for Jared nonetheless. D just staring intently at the screen.
I'm looking at.
He just found out that Hogan's 9 years older than him.
Is that the age difference?
Yeah,
I knew that already. I'm looking at these rosters for this week.
Do we think that Jared plays attack at all by chance?
No.
You don't think even for a couple shifts?
No.
I don't think so. At least in this game, like I could see as the season goes on and they see like how he's progressing just like in the offense and everything, if they decide to do that later on. But I think in this game, they're just going to try to keep him as comfortable as possible and kind of put him in a like the best situation for him to succeed and be comfortable with the guys around him. And I think the guys playing attack are perfect, where they're at. And I also like the team aspect. Dan put out quotes that Pseudo said, Brennan O'Neill said, if you need me to play midfield, I'll play midfield. Logan Wisnauskas said the same thing. So it's like these guys were all in on the signing. Also, I'm looking at like the roster page. Jared Bernhardt is serving fucking cunt in his headshot. His jawline is fucking ripping through this page. Just an absolute specimen. The biggest casualty, obviously, of this signing, too, is Eric Law gets released to the player pool. He is Mr. Outlaw. It sucks. Not that I was all too surprised. Obviously, with younger guys, you want to keep them on the roster as much as possible. So it does suck that the roster casualty was Eric Law. I would love to see Carolina pick up Eric Law. I think, very similar to last year when we were talking about how the Outlaws were missing like that veteran presence in the offense and needed somebody to kind of just corral them. And you see Eric Law come in and the Outlaws offense kind of finds themselves. They get that leader in the huddle. I think that would benefit Carolina for sure. I also love that I tweeted that and Jake Richard liked my tweet. So got the vote of confidence there from Jake, but I don't know if Carolina will do that. You know, it's going to be interesting how they navigate Aslanian being out and everything, and what they do with the roster and how they switch guys in and out week in and week out. But I think as the season goes on, maybe a couple more weeks, if I'm Roy Colsey, I'm probably giving Eric Law a nice little phone call if he's willing to come play for the Chaos.
And I do wonder, not that he doesn't want to play, I do wonder if there was a conversation coming into the year like, hey, you're probably not playing that much. You're just here to be a veteran in practice. Like, that's it. So from his perspective, could it be a situation where he was like, hey, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to practice. Like, so then he gets cut and it's like, does he still want to go play for a team? Especially if he's going into another situation like that where you know you're not playing. Because that's now, not only are you putting in time for practice, but you're putting in time on planes, traveling, not staying at home. He's very active in the community with his youth programs right now. Like, and I haven't spoken to him about this, obviously, so I have no idea where his head's at with that. But I do wonder if there's even a point where he's like, yeah, I consider going to play for Carolina.
Yeah, it probably wasn't great optics that a couple days before this whole saga came to a close, I was trying to get Eric Law to come on the pod this week. And then that happens. I was like, yeah, he ain't coming on the pod this week.
Definitely not.
But
I mean, that would have been electric, though, to have him on right after he gets
so sick. Just have him cut a mean-ass promo.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I also, it's fascinating that, like, Aslanian gets cut, and now you get, like, two relatively big names. Like, obviously Eric Law's older, but like Eric Law's in the player pool, Jules in the player pool, you know, kind of monitoring those situations and like if injuries happen, you know, stuff like that and where those guys end up. It's also kind of ironic that those two are like the biggest like broadcast voices of active players in lacrosse right now. Like those two tear it up in a broadcast booth. I wonder if the season progresses long enough that like we get an alternate broadcast with those two, which would be sick.
I could be here for that.
I would be all like triple booth, Eric Law, Jules, Jeremy Thompson. That would be electric.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for Jared Bernhardt. You know, that was one of the most fun nights when the Jared Bernhardt news was steamrolling and Dan was just burning the midnight oil and it all comes to a head. Like, I was so happy that, like, I was awake for that and, like, that moment happened. Just being, like, online. That was, like, one of those where were you moments in pro lacrosse. Like, that was a fun time. And, like, shout out to Dan. Like, that was fucking awesome. The way that he scooped and grinded and scraped his way through that story and was able to report on that and be at the front of the line there was so sick. And that's why you should support independent outlets, independent reporters, journalists, media, etc. Dan does a phenomenal job. And like we joked about stuff before where like Dan was like, I don't want to be the Adam Schefter of lacrosse, but Dan, you're shaping up to be that, bud.
That's exactly kind of what's playing out right now, buddy. Don't know what to say. Maybe stop.
So funny. But yeah, I think it's a very positive thing for this Outlaws team to get Jared Bernhardt. I think he fits well. Guys took pay cuts too, allegedly, according to Dan. For him to come here to be on this team. So that's exciting. He's reunited with Logan Wisnauskas too, which I'm sure played a big part. I'm sure being able to play with Jesse was a big part. But hey, Deej, that means the Redwoods might be able to make a big splash at some point because they got plenty of cap space, according to all the reports.
Oh, we chilling. We made a big splash last week when we won week 1.
You won week 1 again, and you missed out on another superstar play.
Hey, that's our MO. That's our MO. We win and we lose out on good players.
I do wonder if we live in an alternate, like there's an alternate universe where the Outlaws won that game. if in that alternate universe Jared Bernhardt signs with the Redwoods and they make a harder push because they're 0-1.
I also wonder, like, the alternate universe where we don't win that last game last year and we draft CJ Kirst instead, and what the draft and everything looks like because of that changes a lot. I don't think Andrew McAdory goes 2 anymore. I arguably think you guys choose Chris Kavanaugh at 2 because you guys would have been 2. I think you guys still go and get another attackman, and it probably would have been Chris, who would have replaced Kieran when Kieran's done. That honestly almost makes too much sense.
Yeah, I'm happy we got CJ Kirst and Jake Taylor, though.
You know what I'm saying? And then things like kind of trip down in a totally different way. We probably don't trade for the 3rd pick. So that probably stays with who would have had it anyway. Like, oh, man. Maybe we still trade because that was the Cannons trade.
Yeah, because that was the Owen Grant trade.
But are we giving up the 1 for that? What other pick? Like, but maybe Cannons don't want to give us 1st and 3rd. So then they aren't even trying to trade us for that anymore. Like, a lot could have happened just because
you gave Owen Grant for the 3rd.
Yeah, but like maybe they don't want to accept that. Maybe they try and trade it for something else, or they just say no all around because they're like, no, we're not giving you the 3rd pick when you have the 1st as well. The 1st pick really starts to fuck with people's heads because number 2, they're like, yeah, it's a good pick, but like it's not a generational player like the number 1 pick is. So like I could see Brian going, no,
Brian loves Owen Grant. The way that he talked about him at Media Day was like, yeah, I've been trying to get him for a couple years now.
But listen, I think it's gonna work out for us, but realistically, we should have been trying to get Pat Cav back for Owen Grant. Let Chris slip to us in the draft. Then you get Chris and Pat. Even if you do still take Andrew McAdory, we're talking a lot here.
A whole lot of what ifs.
I know. It's fun sometimes, though.
One day, when this company is making millions and millions and millions of dollars, we will have that dream podcast that I have brainstormed about before, where every week we go down a rabbit hole of prior things in sports. And it's like, what if this certain thing didn't happen? It's like, what if Pat Spencer didn't play basketball? Whole league looks a whole lot different.
Dude, that one specifically is
that
crazy.
One goes on a rabbit hole. What if Jeff Teat never goes back to college? Man,
you could do that for every chaos draft pick.
I was going to say
2020 to 2024. I'm just saying that, but like Jeff Teat changes a lot
because they had
just
Teat
because of the caliber player he is.
They had Teat, Bernhardt, Dylan Hess.
I mean Hess. I don't know if that changes too much.
I'm just saying in terms of like guys that they drafted, like if they stayed there.
But the other 2 is quite interesting.
And I mean, looking at that Chaos Short Stick D MIDI room right now, I'm sure they wish they had Dylan Hess.
But I mean, T and Bernhardt on Chaos. I mean, we're getting in the territory of asking if Dane and Josh even leave because they might be multiple time champs. Like that team could look very different if those 2 guys get drafted.
Oh yeah, and also Chaos had Levi Anderson, and then he.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
We need to map this out at some point because that team could have been
generational.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah, they had 4 draft and stash guys. The only year that they didn't was 2022, which is wild.
I mean, he had to stop eventually.
And I mean, technically, they had one and they just released it. It was Jonathan Donville. What a wild time. What a wild time. Let's get into the preview for Charlotte. It is brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, if you want to stand out in the crowd this PLL season and rep your favorite lacrosse players, favorite lacrosse podcast, look no further than PHI Apparel Company. Get your official Outside the Box podcast t-shirts and hoodies. Rep your favorite podcast. If you go to a PLL weekend, you wear OTB merch, take a picture of yourself. We'll repost it on all of our socials. Rep the pod. phiapparel.co is the website. If you want to get 10% off your next merch order, use code underground at checkout and you'll get that generous 10% off. Again, that's phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off your next merch order. Boys, we go to Charlotte, the Red Legion, ready to cause chaos, all pun intended there. Our matchups for the weekend: the Denver Outlaws kick things off. Jared Bernhardt gets things going against the Carolina Chaos on ESPN Plus at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then it is what, Deej, we have deemed this a rivalry that people don't talk about enough. It's very Chaos Archers coded. Water Dogs Whip Snakes, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus. And then on Saturday, it's the Archers and the Cannons on ABC at 1 p.m. And then at 7 p.m., another fun rivalry matchup. It is the California Redwoods and the Carolina Chaos on ESPN Plus. I mean, Outlaws-wise, obviously everyone is going to be all eyes on Jared Bernhardt just for this game. That'll be the storyline going in. But I think the storyline is, how does this Outlaws midfield figure things out from week one and get back on track, get Graham Bundy more involved, get Justin Anderson kind of playing that super utility midfielder role, and fixing up the defense and goaltending, obviously, against a Chaos offense that had moments, like we said, against the New York Atlas in week one, and now they're playing in front of that home crowd, and, you know, they're young, they're scrappy, and I pretty unpredictable for the most part. So I think this game, while on paper, yes, everyone has had their doubts about Carolina and, you know, all of that. I think this game is going to be very fun to watch.
I'll defer to Hoots first.
Yeah, as far as coming into the game, I'm more nervous of this matchup for Denver than I was last week, just because I think Carolina's defense will be much, I want to say tougher because I want to insult California's defense, but for lack of a better term, I think they'll play them better, especially if guys like Justin Anderson and Graham Bundy are not already going. And again, Blaze Reardon is still probably the best goalie in the world, so there's that as well. But on the other side, like you said, they're all young. So, I mean, they had a good game last week, but I'm not totally convinced on them just yet. And especially, like we talked about, adding Adam Charlambides back into the lineup, like, I just don't know how that's going to affect their offense. So, yeah, that's about all I got.
I mean, I'm excited for this game. I think it's an opportunity for Denver to be in a very similar game to what they were in last week. A game that is going to test them in some ways, but is a game that they should and will have the opportunity to win. I think the offense, with some new exciting pieces, obviously, but also just some very comfortable pieces. I think the key is capitalizing in the short clock game, because I do think Luke Wehrman will have a better game than he had last week, and will be able to kind of give them a lot of opportunities in that short clock on offense. So I think you capitalize there and you let BO get going early, and then you let the rest of the team feed off the attention and the energy the energy he gives off, but the attention he will get, and that'll open up the offense some more. But I think really you got to get better play on the defensive side of the ball if you want to win. But I think they'll see this as a possible reset, with still a lot of Chaos being newer guys to the league that are finding footing.
Yeah, and for Chaos, Greg Langermeyer gets his debut start at short stick this week alongside Glicini and Ray Dirth. Pat Resch is on the protected roster. Gannon Matthews is back. He's on the protected roster. And then Justin Inacio, Jackson Moreau, McNulty, and McDonald are the inactives for Carolina. And then for Denver, obviously the debut of Jared Bernhardt, but the inactives are Jack Myers, Sam Handley, AJ Pilot, Greg Weil, Kevin Parnham, Jack Gray on the protected roster. Sam Handley being out of the lineup, while it sucks, yes, but also I think a lot of people you're going to bring in Jared Bernhardt. If someone's got to leave the lineup, makes a lot of sense. Sam didn't have the best game. Let him kind of, clear his head a little bit and get back on track in the next game. But I like this lineup for the Outlaws. And like you said, Deech, kind of cleaning things up on that defense, cleaning things up goaltending wise will be pivotal. And overall, I mean, last week too, the Outlaws showcased that they can move the ball in transition as well as anyone. Pacino went coast to coast. Zach Geddes has one of the two-pointers in the league so far this year. The fact that a short stick and a face-off guy are the only ones with 2-pointers so far after week one is hilarious. But I like this lineup for them. I also like Carolina's lineup a lot. I think there's a lot of potential for them this week to produce offensively. I like Adam Charlambides coming into the lineup. I think he is a super fun player, and I think he fits well with what Josh Sawada can do with both of them playing in the NLL. Their games complement each other very well, and I think it's going to be a defensive gut check for this Outlaws offense, going up against Blaze and the Carolina defense. So very fun matchup on deck there. The nightcap, Water Dogs season debut going up against the Whip Snakes. 5 Water Dogs will make their PLL debuts this week. No Rylan Reese in the lineup for Philly. Jimmy Freehill, I know Hoots is stoked about that, gets the start alongside Ben Weyer. So two rooks going at LSM this week for the Water Dogs. And we get short stick defensive midfielder Eli Gobrecht this week.
Yeah, that had me blue. I said, hello? Okay. Not that he can't do it, because he's definitely trusting him to do it. Just not expected whatsoever to see that on the lineup sheet.
Part of it, Charlie Hayes is out this week with injury, so that left them short. And Christian Scarpello is on the PUP list because he's been coaching high school lacrosse, so he's still out. But I fully expect him to be back relatively soon. Dylan Hess obviously makes his PLL debut this week alongside short stick defensive midfielder Eli Gobrecht and Matt Witcher. We get Thomas McConvey in the lineup, who, from everyone I talked to, had a phenomenal camp. Jimmy Freehill, Ben Weyer make their debuts. Kenny Brower makes his debut in a Water Dogs uniform, was out all last season with injury. And then Jake Taylor obviously making his debut as well. This lineup's going to be a lot of fun. This defense is going to be nasty. I'm excited to kind of see the Water Dogs in action for the first time and what they're going to be able to do. Jack DiBenedetto and Connor Schmeil are on the protected roster. And, I mean, we said it time and time again. Last year was such a weird year for such a talented team that they're coming in ready to rock and roll. Mikey Schlosser ready to rock and roll, active week 1. I think this is the first time, since 2023? No, 22 that he's been active week 1. Because he got hurt in 22, right?
Yes.
Because he didn't play in the championship, but he was there the whole time. So first time in 3 years that Mikey Schlosser's active week 1, which is exciting. And, Zach Courier, Connor Kelly, McConvey, Jack Hanna. Very talented team. I think just your big question mark is 2 unproven rookies at the LSM position with Alex Stathakis, who came in late at the faceoff spot last year for the Water Dogs. How do those guys complement his game on the wings and how they can win some faceoffs for once. This year, that was a big problem, obviously, early on for the Water Dogs and them kind of just getting worked and almost conceding the stripe for the first 4 games of the season. But I'm also very excited to watch Kenny Brower in his debut. Bill Tierney drafted him for a reason. The injury kind of pushed him to the second round, and he said if Brower was an option for them with the first round pick, but they ended up drafting Matt Brandow, which they turned into Zed Williams. So the fact that Brower now gets to make his debut, we are on the record saying Marcus Hudgens had one of the best defensive debuts of a PLL rookie defender in recent memory last year. When he came in Philly, he was sensational, and they get to play alongside an all-star from last year in Ben Randall. So looking forward to the Water Dogs debut and kind of seeing what they're going to be able to cook up. And then for the Whips, relatively basic Whip Snakes roster that you'll see week in and week out. Mazzone, Aldridge, DeFazio, and Palo Alto are the inactives. Colin Heacock on that protected roster again. Back-to-back weeks. Jack Corus on the protected roster as well. I mean, we'll see with the Whips. Their offense looked very out of sync last week. We'll see what they're going to be able to do. The Water Dogs, outside of last year, have really had the Whip Snakes numbers, and it's been 1-goal games a lot of the time. So I'm excited for this matchup, and it's Matt Brandow playing against his former team. They have him lined up at midfield on the roster this week. So looking forward to this matchup that Deej and I have deemed a rivalry that nobody really talks about as a rivalry, but they should, because these two teams don't like each other, even though Bryce Young is no longer on the Whips.
My hate Maryland train continues this week. That's the biggest thing for me. I want to see them continue to lose. No, but I do think this game should be a lot of fun.
Stags, you heard that? You heard that, Stags?
Stags, you my dog, though. No pun intended. I do think this game is going to be a lot of fun, though. I think the added pressure of already losing a game and kind of how they feel and the emotions of that is going to fuel some of the Whip Snakes game, and they're going to be looking to get on the board in a positive way, or at least not lose so bad so that they're in a position to kind of be fighting for it toward the end of the year. At the same time, the Water Dogs are going to have that first game excitement where they're getting back out there. They're excited. They want to just get it done and get that first game out of the way. So this game really is going to be maybe closer than some people think. I think a lot of people are expecting this Water Dogs offense to kind of pop off, and I think they should maybe temper that a little bit because it is the first game. We saw with every team last week, there were lots of turnovers, there were miscommunications, all of those kind of things as they gel back together. I think that should be expected of the Water Dogs as well. But I think the energy behind this game and the fact that these two teams don't really like each other, and then two, they kind of both have outside excitements that are helping kind of get them up for this game.
And I mean, Jake Taylor, Michael Sowers brought it up. He said, 1, he's never met a bigger lax rat than Jake Taylor. 2, Sowers and Kieran have kind of built this bond with Jake throughout training camp. So I'm excited to kind of just see that chemistry in a game situation, seeing how those two kind of work really well with Jake and Bill Tierney. We've said it a couple times now since the draft. Bill Tierney told me after the draft he thinks Jake Taylor can score at least 15 goals on the man up alone with just how quick his shot is. So very excited to watch him in action alongside our guy Kieran McCardle and our guy Michael Sowers. The Redwoods Deej this week, pretty similar lineup to last week, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there was any changes. Ryan Ogevin, Nakai Montgomery, Brendan Nichter, and the inactives. Hey, what's that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, it ain't broke, so why are we gonna try and fix it?
Ain't gotta fix it. I was laughing.
I'm feeling good.
I was laughing that everyone was pointing out that 3 out of the 4 Chris's, you know how the Water Dogs have a bunch of Mikeys, the Redwoods have a bunch of Chris's. 3 of the 4 are listed on the roster back to back
Right
to
next
back.
to each other.
It's like Chris. It's like Stewie yelling, "Mom, mom, mom, mom." And
then the 5th, Mama, is Chris, the coach.
Collins. Because someone was like, I think it was Tari said, there's too many Chris's on this roster. Why are there 4 Chris's? I was like, there's technically 5 if you count Chris Collins.
Facts.
Cole Kirst, I think, is everyone's bat signal to be like, how is this guy not on the active roster? I mean, when you got Andrew McAdory playing the way he did last week, when you got Denenza playing as well as he did in the system, sure, he had 1 goal, but like he looked the part. And I mean, the hottest selling jersey in the PLL, number 34, is out there cooking dudes. Plus, you got Romar and Charlie Bertrand. Like, it's going to be tough for Cole to crack the roster right now on a week in and week out basis. Not that Cole's not talented. We're big Cole Kirst fans. But the way that the dudes played last week, I like that Anthony Kelly's kind of rewarding them for their play last week.
Yeah, the way I see it is kind of like how the hockey team that I was a manager for in high school, they didn't roll the line. Well, I shouldn't say roll lines. They didn't change the starting lineup until a loss. So if they win 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row, it's the same starting 5 plus goalie that was in the last time they won. And then they'll talk about changes if they lose. That's kind of how I see this roster as well. Don't change up what worked for you until you lose, or until you see somebody not playing well enough and you should slot somebody else in. You had almost 0 problems last week that weren't expected. You had some chemistry problems, you had some turnovers, but all of that is expected. This offense arguably outplayed itself in what everybody was expecting from them. So why not give them another run?
Right. The Cannons, Coulter Mackesy will make his debut this weekend. Will Manny out of the lineup. I know everyone's up in arms about that. Here's my thing. Will Manny lives in Utah. Game's on the East Coast. And if you follow Will Manny on Instagram, you will openly see that Will Manny's wife is 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing Brian Holman for benching quote unquote Will Manny this week. I think it's just like, hey, you're going to the East Coast again. I was just at training camp for a full week plus a game day. My wife's at home on the West Coast pregnant. Let me get a week to go back home and make sure she's good and taken care of. That's all speculation, but that's just kind of like, if you put the points together from a real life perspective, that's more than likely what it is. On top of, hey, you drafted Coulter Mackesy in the first round. Let's get a look at the rookie and see what he can do in this offense. Graydon Hogg, Mick Kelly, and Brian Kelly, the other inactives for the Cannons. Welcome back, producer Donnie. Jonathan Donville back in the lineup for the first time this year. How do we feel about Coulter Mackesy wearing number 91?
I like it.
It's his number. And it is a lacrosse number.
I like it.
Trade Deer wears it. There's a lacrosse program that uses it.
I also think it fits his name.
Fitting. Yeah, it's a fitting number, and it definitely fits his name. And he looks good in it. It's the only number I've ever seen him wear. So that's definitely part of it.
I also think 91 is just like a cool number.
It is.
The numbers like from just a no.
I don't even know how to.
I'm gonna pull this from last week from a number line perspective, Deech. Number 9 and number 1 in that order complement each other very well.
Hate this dude. Talking about fucking number line hanging up in a classroom.
Hey man, sometimes you got to do it. Vardaro's active this week too, which I'm excited about.
Yep, I saw that.
He's very fun to watch, and I think if you haven't watched a Cannons game before, watch number 19 on the field this week because I think he's very electric. He brings a different element to that midfield for them. I think he's going to be very exciting this week. And I mean, hell of a debut for Ben Ramsey last week. So looking to see him kind of add on to his debut last week in a game that is going to be must-see TV on ABC, Cannons Archers. John Robbins on the protected roster this week. Deej's boy Mitchell Dunham on the protected roster this week as well. Maybe he's getting a haircut. Who knows? Colby Bars, though. Colby Bars active this week. Shout out to the boy. Grant Amen is out this week with that hamstring injury. Brett Dobson is active, but he is dealing with an ankle injury. He was on the injury report this week. Allegedly sprained his ankle during the game against the Whipsnake, but toughed it out, and he's going to play this week as well. Also out, Richie Connell, Max Merklinger, and James Shipley. Zach Carey also pointed out that we're going to see kind of a rotation of Colby Bars, John Robbins, and when he's active again, Cam Wires at the LSM position this year for the Archers. I mean, it's kind of a standard Archers lineup. Biggest things I want to see, Mac O'Keefe kind of get back to his ways and be able to kind of find his shot this week. Obviously, a lot went into last week, him not finding his way. Defense from the Whipsnakes did a great job. The rain, Grant Ament goes down. You kind of have to shuffle the offense a little bit. I want to see what Bryce Ford can do a little bit more. You know, Coach Bates has talked about how he's a big fan of his game, and I want to see him just contribute more. Plus, our guy Ryan Ambler's back. #ramble on. Very excited to see Ryan Ambler back in the lineup. But I mean, it's the Archers. They know how to play. They're a well-oiled machine, and this is going to be a very fun matchup this early in the season between the Archers and the Cannons. So those are the matchups this week, the rosters. And guess what, guys? You can see all of that information each and every week in the PLL app. If you download the PLL app, you will be up to date on everything going on around the league, from press conferences to articles from the beat writers, behind the scenes looks, the vlog. PLL Fantasy is in the app. You can compete in the Outside the Box podcast fantasy group against myself, Hoots, Deej, and a whole bunch of our good pals. Plus, the app is gamified. There's something to do in the app every single day. You earn experience points. You unlock rewards in the app. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store. And when you go to the redeem code section, use code OTBPOD. That's code OTBPOD. You'll get 500 XP on your account when you put that in the redeem code section. So again, download the PLL app, go to the redeem code section, use code OTBPOD for 500 XP on your account, and stay up to date with the PLL all season long in the PLL app. I think it's about that time, boys, where we head on over to the good old
Picky
pig
pond,
feed some ducks, and dish out our PLL Charlotte picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and Delaware areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And as always, guys, please drink responsibly. And if you're tailing with our picks for whatever reason, please gamble responsibly. Boys, we start 6 p.m. Hoots, the Outlaws, taking on the homecoming Carolina Chaos. We'll start with you. How do you see this faring out in week 2 for the Denver Outlaws?
I think we bounce back and get a win. I don't think the midfield will play as bad as they did. I think Luke Weirman will be much better at the dot. And as good as Chaos' defense is, I think we'll kind of figure it out. And I'm going to say Jared Bernhardt gets 2 points in this one as well.
And on top of that, too, to recap last week, we all went 3-1 in our picks, just in a different way of going about it. So we're all even in terms of our records. I am also going with the Denver Outlaws. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. But I do think the Outlaws just have the more talented offensive firepower to get the job done. I also like the Outlaws short stick D-midi unit far more than I like the Carolina Chaos for sure. Plus Zach Getty's revenge game. Put that on the board. Zach Getty's goal scorer, anytime goal scorer. I love it. Give me the Outlaws, though, to get a very fun win against Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Outlaws as well. This one for me comes down to the success that I think Luke Weirman will have at the stripe. I really need him to, since I have him on my fantasy team. I took a gamble with those 20 coins and being a steal there. But then I do think that they can have a lot of success with how often they're getting the ball. It really will just come down to their defense stepping up, which I think they will have a chance to do against an offense that's still trying to find itself.
We move to the nightcap, an Eastern Conference showdown. The Maryland Whipsnakes, the Philadelphia Water Dogs. Deej, I'll start with you. How do you see this one showing out in a rivalry that needs more respect put on its name?
I hate Maryland, so you know I ain't going to pick them for real.
Stags, you heard that?
No, it ain't got nothing to do with Stags. It has everything to do with the state of Maryland and me living in Michigan. That's literally where like all the beef comes from. But in retrospect, honestly, I honestly believe the Water Dogs are going to be much better than what they were last year. I think their offense is still just as good as it has been the last couple of years. And they've even bolstered that with some draft picks and such. So I think that the mix of young and old and the experience the Water Dogs have will play a huge part in how fast they play. I think speed will be the real indicator here. The Whipsnakes are going to try and keep it slow and kind of run at a more methodical pace, whereas if the Water Dogs can speed them up and go into a speed game, I like their chances to win.
Yeah, I'm taking the Water Dogs as well. And I think one thing that I'm intrigued about is the battle at the stripe. You know, we saw guys go and play in the NLL for the first time, and we saw TD's game elevate. We saw Justin Inacio this year go play in the NLL and like revitalize his career to the fact that he's on a PLL roster now. I'm very excited to see Stathakis year 2 of the PLL, but coming off of a very strong NLL season with the Vancouver Warriors, going up against Joe Nardella, who he faced off against, you know, when Vancouver played Albany. And I just like the youth aspect on the Water Dogs defense. And we saw last week, like, Lavelle put the clamps on Matt Rambo. Who's to say that, you know, Brower or Hudgens can't do the same thing? And I love this Water Dogs offense. You know, Michael Sowers is one of the most electric players in all of lacrosse. Kira McCardle is a living legend. And I think they're going to both complement Jake Taylor's game so well. Plus, you have Jack Hanna in that midfield, who's just an absolute force and just a physical specimen. And you can't deny Connor Kelly. You know, his 2-point ability is always there. So I'm going with the Water Dogs to get the win here.
Yeah, so am I. For me, it comes down to more so just I don't really trust Maryland's offense. Kind of as a whole, but especially just right now or early in the season, like it's a lot of young guys and then a couple vets that I don't know. Like if Rambo gets shut down again, I just don't really trust them to score all that many times. Mm-hmm. And I'm with you guys that I think Philly is that exciting young team again. And I do think they'll come out and want to prove that, like, hey, we won one game last year. Like, let's just get that out of the way right now and just get off on the right foot. So I'm going Philly as well.
They won 2 last year.
Oh, excuse me.
They upset New York in that last game. But yeah, I just like the speed versus slow boost for the Water Dogs too. Like the speed element, I think, is going to be so key in this game. We go to 1 p.m. on ABC. Cannons, Archers, early season offensive explosion type potential matchup. I'm going with the Archers to get the win. I just think overall they have the team chemistry there. Not that the Cannons don't, but, you know, you have some new guys coming into the lineup for the first time, some new guys re-entering the lineup in general, like a Jonathan Donville. kind of figuring out their footing a little bit. They looked good last week, obviously, against a very talented Atlas team, but I just think Brett Dobson is on another level at the goaltender position, and the Archers defense is incredible. So I'm going to go with the Archers to get the dub.
Game of the weekend vibes, for sure. This one could easily pop off and be a very high-scoring game. It's exciting to watch. But on the flip side, it could be very similar to that 10-8 Atlas Chaos game we got earlier. I think just a better version of that. I don't think it's as sloppy as we saw with that first game of the year. I think it's a little more refined, a little more defensive battle, if that's what it turns out to be. But realistically, I do think both of these offenses are just too high profile to allow such a low scoring game. But I think the advantage is on the side of the Archers when you look at them having Tom Schreiber, 5-time midfielder of the year, Connor Fields coming off his best NLL season ever, and seemingly not losing a single step. And the list goes on. I think the big question mark here will be which faceoff guy is going to have a better day. I think Zach Tucci could really help the Cannons get a leg up in this. But if Sis shows up and gets help from his wings again, well, I'll say if Sis shows up again and gets help from his wings this week around, it could be a runaway fest for the Archers. But I trust the Archers to come out on top.
Yeah, I'm sticking with that as well. I think Sis bounces back. Well, his wings bounce back specifically. Not that Boston can't win this game. I went back and forth on this game like 7 times, but I just have to go with my gut, and I don't have any other reason than just I think Sis bounces back and they get more possessions. That's about it.
Yeah. Final game, 7 Eastern, Carolina Chaos, California Redwoods. Deej, floor is yours.
I mean, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm rolling the woods. There's no question about it. I think the offense looks absolutely fantastic. I think there are still some questions on the defensive side of the ball. I think we're still missing a true lockdown defender that can take out, a top guy. I think that's something we should be on the search on in, free agency / looking at the draft in the next year, maybe go for a trade. But that's really kind of the only thing I feel the defense is missing. I feel like really every other part of this team is good. The offense is flowing at an unreal level that we haven't seen in years. TD looks to be in midseason form after one game. And Chase even stepped up and had a really good game last week. So if he can continue that play between the pipes and the defense can be a tad bit more aggressive, the paved way for the Redwoods to make it far is wide open. So I'm going to trust them to win in a game where I think the Chaos will still be struggling and trying to find their footing, and they'll be tired. We saw last week teams that are playing these back-to-backs are tired, even with those extra guys on the reserve roster. So I think the Redwoods will take advantage of the extra day of rest because they played Friday last week, so now they're getting the extra day of rest to play on Saturday, and they're playing a team that not only got one full week of rest, but is also playing on a back-to-back. So, of course, I'm rolling the woods in a second straight week.
First time these new head coaches facing off against each other too. So
in this rivalry
is going to be very fun. New chapter. For me, this comes down to a similar thing, like I said earlier in one of the other matchups. I just genuinely like the Redwoods short stick unit far more than I like Carolina's. There's just that's one of the big holes on the Carolina roster is their short stick just depth. And I was impressed with Chase last week in goal. You're playing against an offense now that still can score, but will be coming off a game the night before. How do they bounce back? Playing 2 games in one weekend. And I just think the Redwoods look fast. Like, they looked so fast last week. They were able to move around. And as opposed to years past, which y'all know, we kind of know the source of that offense looking slow a little bit after 1 week already. Ball was not getting stuck in any of the guys' sticks last week for the Redwoods. And if that continues, they're going to be a problem. I like their offense a lot right now after 1 week. I'm very impressed, so I'm rolling with the Woods to get the dub and improve to 2-0.
All right, I guess I got to be the one to break up the Woods glazing because I'm taking the chaos.
Whoa, pause.
Not that I am particularly fond of chaos as a team necessarily, but I'm kind of hanging my hat on their defense being much more physical than Denver's was last week against the Woods. I still need their offense to prove it to me more than once. Like I told you guys in the group chat, if they pull this one off, I will start believing. My only concern with them is just at the face-off dot. I don't know if that will do too kindly, but obviously we just saw last week Trevor Baptiste win 19 times and still lost by 4. So I'm not totally sold on the idea that face-offs are going to be like a main factor in this one. They could be, but for the sake of taking an underdog, I'm taking the Carolina Chaos.
So there you have it. Our picks of the week
Weirdo.
for week 2. We all have the Outlaws in game 1. We all have the Water Dogs. We all have the Archers. Deej and I are rolling with the Woods, and Hoots has Carolina to steal a win in their homecoming weekend. And those are our week 2 PLL picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer. Fun show. A lot of fun stuff happening throughout the PLL, and crazy thing that Deej, next week you'll be here. We'll have a live show ready to rock and roll. It's a parade inside my city. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to just a fun weekend. Shout out to the Red Legion. Bring the boom. Make it a fun weekend in Carolina for sure. Show out. If you're going to the games, enjoy it. It's going to be a ton of fun. Final thought here. The opinions of burners don't matter. Just saying. Out there for the people. I'm putting a word of advice for the people out there. The opinions of burners, they don't matter.
You asshole.
He's talking to you, by the way, Deej.
He ain't got to talk to me. I was just having fun earlier.
Oh, I'm not. I was in the trenches with you.
I was having fun.
Yeah, you were having a grand old time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in general, for the people out there, not us. We know how to play with our food.
You were having so much fun, Deej. I couldn't even find every response you put. I had to go to separate threads to find everything you said to that man.
Dog.
My
I was
mentions were
just
blowing
cooking.
up because I was still tagged in all them tweets.
I was just cooking, bro.
Every
I
time you
really-
came back, you said, "Oh, I cooked him again." I was like, "Hang on." I started scrolling. I'm trying to find.
It really felt like that TikTok with the drum line in the back where like they're like like that's literally what I felt like. And I'm like, yeah, bro, this is
my
lit.
God. It's so funny. But yeah, them burners, they don't matter. Don't let them bother you. They out here, they're gonna be certified dickheads all the time. And Deej, one of the reasons I'll never delete Facebook. I saw one of the main reasons I'll never delete Facebook today. Can I read you this post that I saw? This for the real ones out here. This for the real ones that got to the 1 hour and 48 minute mark. This post had me cracking up so much so CFO Margie was like, "What are you laughing at?" And I showed her. She started cracking up. Someone posted, "In a world full of fake dildos, be a real dick."
I fuck with that.
I was like, that's so real.
I fuck with that.
Oh,
Crazy. I was like, that's real. I felt that one today. Be a real dick. Put that on a shirt. Should be a fun weekend, though. Very excited for it. And looking forward to recapping another one. We're going to have Hoots on the show more often than you think. So make sure you stay tuned for the triple threat OTB episodes all summer long. We also have a photographer on site in Charlotte. So we're very excited to have our guy Miles on deck. So if you see Miles snapping away, give him a shout. He's part of Team OTB. Very excited for what he's going to be able to capture for us. And he's locked in. He's dialed. We were talking pre-show. Hoots was like, yo, my boy is ready to rock and roll. Miles is brand new to lacrosse too. He just started getting into lacrosse this year. So it's his first PLL weekend. He's working as a credential photographer. So very excited for him and happy he's a part of our squad. So definitely give Miles a follow as well. We'll have his Instagram linked in the description of the show. But shout out to Miles out there doing the work for us and checking off another box for one part of our squad to be at a PLL weekend for us and capturing JB10's debut. We're going to have debut JB10 photos, which is very exciting. So shout out to Miles. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow Deej at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Also, one other thing, shout out to Chase. Just graduated college this past week or 2 weeks ago. Shout out to the boy.
Let's go, bro.
We're proud out here. Shout out to him. Doing
Hella
big
proud.
things.
Hella
Shout out to Chase. We love Chase. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star review. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia and youtube.com/@OTB LaxPod. And of course, guys, like we mentioned earlier too, Rita's live show. If you're in the South Jersey area, come on out. Rita's in Sewell, New Jersey, 288 Egg Harbor Road, Sunday night, 6 p.m. We're doing a live Underground Sports Philadelphia recording at Rita's. So come on out, enjoy the sweet treats at Rita's, and take in a live recording of Underground. And also check out Shootout For Soldiers website, shootoutforsoldiers.com/events, to see how you can get involved, donate, register for one of their upcoming events, volunteer, find out more information on Shootout For Soldiers. It's linked in the description. But again, shootoutforsoldiers.com/events is the place to get all of that info for their upcoming events for the month of July, which is on deck. They get a nice little rest in the month of June, but July, they're back to cooking. So big shout out to Shootout For Soldiers. And this has been episode 378 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Hoots, for Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy the weekend of lacrosse. We'll see you back here next week. Deej and I potentially in person for the episode. We'll figure all that out when it happens. But guess what? Live show coming. Very excited for that. We'll see you all in Philly. And until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. Peace.
Peace.